Revenge films.
My name is Maria. I live with my husband, Sean. My husband is a civil servant and has a serious personality. But at home, he's sometimes clumsy, and he makes me laugh all the time. We don't have any children. The reason is because of a sickness I had in the past, and that made my body infertile. I'm really thankful for my husband, who understood my situation and decided to marry me. His mother had passed away when he was young, and at his parents' house, his father lived alone. His father was a really nice person, and I was glad that he treated me like I was his real daughter. My husband had an older sister who was 2 years older than him, and she had 2 children. The big sister was called Nancy, and the little sister was called Sarah. Sometimes, I would meet a sister's family at their parents' house, but the way she treated her children made me uncomfortable. She would spoil the little sister, Sarah, so much, while she had absolutely no interest in the big sister, Nancy. When she was pregnant, she put a lot of effort in educating her baby in the womb, and maybe that's why. But Sarah was great at English since she was small. Sarah was able to memorize everything by hearing about it just once, so my husband's sister would praise her by saying she was a genius. On the other hand, Nancy didn't really have a special talent. She was still in first grade, so I thought it wasn't a big deal. But my husband's sister treated her harshly, saying,
"I educated the same way, but you're not smart at all. If you can't be a genius, I won't spend money on you anymore."
Whenever I saw Nancy looking sad after her mother scolded her, my heart really ached for her. But this was still my sister-in-law's family problem, so I wasn't sure if I could offer her my help. And I was struggling to decide whether it was right for me to keep this going on. But because I was just her aunt, I couldn't intervene easily, so I kept observant. And my father-in-law seemed to feel the same. One day, right after the summer break started in elementary school, my father-in-law suddenly called me. He spoke with a very troubled voice and said,
"I want you to come here right now."
When I quickly headed to his house, I found my father-in-law and Nancy there. When I took a closer look at Nancy, she had clearly lost weight compared to when I saw her last time, and her clothes looked very small on her. I guess she hadn't taken a bath because her hair was dirty, and she just didn't look like a child who was being taken care of by a normal household. When I was at a loss of words seeing Nancy, my father-in-law called me to talk with him in another room and said,
"Actually, my daughter's family called this morning and said they'll be on vacation abroad from today. So they left Nancy here telling me to look after her while they were away."
I couldn't believe that they left her when they were supposed to be on a family vacation. And I wanted to complain to my sister-in-law right now. But before that, I thought I had to hear Nancy out. So when I spoke to her, her personality had become very dark and didn't dare to open her heart for me. How come she changed so much in such a short period of time? First of all, I had her take a bath and washed all over her body, and I dried her hair while I combed gently. Then Nancy started crying all of a sudden. When I asked her why she was crying, she said she didn't know. I didn't know what to say, and when I was silent, Nancy mumbled in a small voice, "They won't let me out of my room even during dinner time, and when it's time to take a bath. They told me they didn't need a stupid kid in their house. They said the only child they had was Sarah." When I saw Nancy cried as she told me all this, I had to give her a hug. I don't think you're stupid. No matter how many times I tell her, it didn't seem to heal the wounds in her heart. Since that day, I decided to take care of Nancy at my house, and the 3 of us started living together. First, we got rid of her worn-out clothes she was wearing and went shopping for new ones together. And after she got dressed in some nice clothes at the shop, we went to eat a parfait. On our way home, we went to the arcade, and when we won a plushie from the claw machine, Nancy got excited, clapping her hands. When I gave her the plushie, she got confused and said, "Huh? Can I have it?" So I told her yes, and then Nancy thanked me with twinkling eyes. Since then, she would bring the plushie everywhere no matter where we went to. I thought we would discuss what to do from now on after my sister-in-law came back from her trip. But after living with her for a while, my thoughts had changed. Day by day, Nancy was opening her heart, and her smile was gradually coming back, and I was starting to think that I didn't want her to go back to my sister-in-law. I wanted to stay with her forever. I can't think of my life without Nancy. When I told my husband about how I felt, He said with a serious expression,
I'm glad you think that way. My sister abandons her at home, and that's child neglect. So let's consider adopting her as our child.
2 weeks later, my sister-in-law, who had tanned a lot, visited my house with Sarah. And then she said,
I heard Nancy was here.
Sarah continued with horrible words when she smiled.
I didn't buy any souvenirs for my stupid sister. My sister isn't part of our family anymore.
As soon as Nancy heard her mother and sister's voice, she suddenly started weeping and said,
I don't want to go home. I'll stay here forever. Auntie, can you be my mom?
She hugged me and didn't let me go. When her mother said that,
Oh, that's great. Although she's so stupid, I did have to go through all the pain of giving birth. So I can't just accept that for free.
that was what she said. I got furious and answered, It's my first time seeing such a horrible person like you. I'll pay you, so leave Nancy alone and get out right now. I shouted and kicked her out of my house. That night, when I told my husband what his sister told me, my husband said to Nancy,
You don't have to go back anymore, so you can relax. You're our child now, Nancy.
Then he gently patted her head. Since that day, Nancy started calling us Dad and Mom. The next weekend, my husband called his sister to visit their parents' house and broke relations with her after paying her money, and we completed the process of adopting Nancy. He said that his sister happily went home with an envelope that had $1 million inside. His father, who was also there, got really furious and broke relations with her as well, and we promised that we would never get involved with her again. But after that, we ended up meeting her again at somewhere we never expected. 13 years later, Nancy had become a full adult and was dreaming to become a professional pianist while she went to a music college. She was approved as a pianist around the world, being invited by numerous concerts abroad, and she attracted a lot of attention in the music industry as one of the new Japanese pianists who everyone was excited about her future. One day, a piano concert was being held at a local hall, so my husband and I excitedly got the tickets to see our daughter's success. Since she became our child, we've been taking care of Nancy with love, so we were more than happy that she grew up to become a wonderful adult. When we visited her backstage with a large bouquet, my daughter, who was wearing a beautiful dress, greeted us. Although she was still based in her hometown, because of her study abroad and concerts worldwide, she rarely was at home, so it felt like ages since I met her. When we handed her the bouquet, she hugged us happily. Then, at that moment, one of the janitors approached us saying,
Excuse me, please, let me pass.
She wanted to go past us, so we apologized that we blocked her way. I'm sorry. But her face looked familiar, so I stared at her for a while. Then my daughter yelled,
Oh, Auntie!
I was confused as she called her auntie, but then I soon realized she was my sister-in-law. When I took a closer look, she seemed very thin and looked as she was older than her actual age. She awkwardly said in a frustrated expression,
I knew it was you. I knew it when I saw the poster.
So my husband approached her and glared at her.
Can you not come near our daughter? We still haven't forgiven you.
She quickly disappeared as if running away. From what I heard from my husband's relatives was that my sister-in-law spoiled Sarah as much as she wanted to after giving Nancy up for adoption. Then Sarah developed a personality that had absolutely no patience, and after following what her parents said, she ended up being very fat. Because of her horrible personality, she couldn't make any friends, and she started to shut herself in her room. And when she graduated middle school, she refused to go to high school and completely became a shut-in. And she recently had a divorce. At this point, their money had also run out due to Sarah's large appetite and other expenses, so she had to leave the house broke. I heard that she supports Sarah by having multiple cleaning jobs. I don't think I'll ever meet her again in my life, but I hope she'll have a poor life forever with Sarah because that's what she deserves.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.